TV correspondent Wei Shen is a Shanghai native, a Bloomfield Hills resident, GM's market launch manager for all future Cadillac vehicles, the executive director of cultural affairs for the largest local Chinese-American organization in Michigan, and a wife and mother. Somehow, she's finding time in her busy schedule to take a few notes from Detroit Symphony conductor Bright Sheng. Wei?
When thinking of the Chinese, especially first-generation Chinese immigrants, many folks in this country tend to conjure up the image of an engineer or a scientist, someone who excels in math or is perhaps immersed in technology of some sort. This morning, I have the privilege to introduce our viewers to someone who will defy such perceptions. His name is Bright Sheng. He is a composer, conductor, pianist, educator, and above all, one of the foremost musicians of our time. Born in Shanghai, China, Bright moved to New York City in 1982. He is now a MacArthur Genius Award winner. He lives right here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and is the Leonard Bernstein Distinguished University Professor of Music at the University of Michigan. Welcome, Bright. I know you are from the so-called Cultural Revolution generation during this most turbulent time in the recent Chinese history. What was it like growing up at that time?
Well, actually, as you know, during the Cultural Revolution, there was no high school, no higher education than high school. So after mid-school, we call it junior high school here, and the students were finished their education. So there were a lot of people doing nothing, basically. So, and Mao decided to send them to the countryside to be farmers. Except at that time, except the one has any performing arts talent, because Mao's wife, Madam Mao, who was running the propaganda sector of the country and who decided to give more state fundings to students, to young people, to train them and all that. So I took some piano lessons when I was a little child, so I became this a musician, so-called professional musician. But because during that time I was, my family were considered the enemy of the state because my grandfather was educated here and a wealthy man in China. So I was this little enemy, so I couldn't stay in major cities. So I was accepted by this group in Tibet. So became this musician in Tibet. Actually, I often say this jokingly, that I was the best pianist in Tibet at that time.
I guess your career has rapidly taken off, and you have worked with virtually all the most famous orchestras, musicians around the world. How did this come about?
Well, after the Cultural Revolution, I went back to Shanghai and studied the composition there. And then after my so-called undergraduate years, I went to New York to study for my graduate studies. But over there, I met a lot of very good American teachers. Among them is Leonard Bernstein, who had a big influence on me. And I studied with him, and I became his assistant, and became his colleague at the end. So that was a great influence on me, and sort of set basic prints for me to be as a musician. So remember, he was a conductor, pianist, and composer, and I tried to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think my music is, you know, I lived in China for half of my life, and the other half I lived here. So I consider myself actually 100 Chinese and 100 American. So I hope my music could be appreciated and liked by both audiences over the Pacifics.
What is it that really brought you to Michigan? And what is exactly your role at the U of M?
Well, we are very lucky at the University of Michigan because it's diverse with both the faculty and the students, and also culturally very interesting and very exciting. There are many things happens, and so I came here about 13 years ago, and I didn't think I was going to stay, but here I was. and I'm here for a long haul.
Well, I understand you're going to conduct with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra next weekend. Could you tell us a little bit about, this concert and?
It's a concert that I'm guest conducting the Detroit Symphony, and half of the program are my music. I have a pipa concerto. Pipa is a lute brought through the Silk Road into China from Central Asia, and it's for pipa and large orchestra. And then there's some Prokofiev music. One of two pieces. One of the bigger piece was his Romeo and Juliet ballet suite, which is a beautiful piece.
Wow, they sound like wonderful concerts. I would definitely take my kids to hear you. And could you just briefly share with us when and where and how to get tickets?
Well, the tickets are on sale at the Detroit Symphony at the Max Fisher Hall, Orchestra Hall. And the concerts are this Friday and Saturday. Friday morning at 10:45, and Saturday night, I think, is at 8:30.
So October 17th and 18th.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us. Best wishes to your upcoming concerts with DSO.
Next up, we have a Detroit organization that desperately needs your help. Stay right there. Well, yeah, a little to the left. A little bit more. Yeah, that's a good spot. Street Beat will be back right after this.